seconds was all it took for my next guest to win his amateur MMA debut. Media outlets all over the world picked up his story, and he joins me right now. His name is Travis Lawrence. He joins me from the great state of Tennessee. Welcome, Mr. Lawrence.
Man, I appreciate you having me. Thanks again.
Let's dig right into this, man. 2-second knockout victory. I mean, talk about setting the MMA world on fire as an amateur. That's crazy.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was definitely, it wasn't expected, but we'll take it for sure.
Well, you're not really giving me a whole lot to look at here. I mean, your Instagram reel that you sent me, I'm like, I watched that about 100 times. I can't stop watching that. So you're not really giving me a whole lot to ask you about, but I will briefly hit on getting ready for this fight. When you were going up against your opponent, was getting out the gate and being aggressive and getting in this kid's face, was that all part of your game plan? Because as soon as that bell rang, you had no hesitation whatsoever. You were right in his face.
Yeah, man, to be honest, I was actually up at the venue fight day about midday. And I don't know why or what made me do it, but I was literally in the cage just working on getting across there as fast as I can and closing that distance. And I probably went over it like 15 minutes by myself. Nobody was there, But the kid, he was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I haven't ranked up in jiu-jitsu yet, just strictly because I don't enjoy the gi, but I need to get back in the gi more. But my grappling's strong, man. I grapple a lot. I do a lot of no-gi. I'm at every open mat I can find, And this kid was a blue belt, and we knew for sure he was going to try to shoot early, we thought. So I just really wanted to get out there quick and put something strong on him and see how he reacted,
Can you tell me a little bit, Travis? I mean, you're training for a 9-minute fight, and I mean, there's a ton of work that goes into this, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, the brutal weight cut, and you end this fight in 2 seconds, but I'm sure you put yourself through hell just preparing for this fight. Can you tell me a little bit about the work that you put into for your last fight?
Yeah, man. Honestly, that was probably the 2-second knockout was September 1st in Goodlettsville. And man, honestly, it was probably the longest fight camp I've ever even thought about having, strictly because, man, I was supposed to fight in April and it fell out. I stayed right in camp and was supposed to fight the 1st of July and it fell out. And they said, "Do you want to do September 1st?" And I was like, "Well, obviously, we're doing September 1st." So, man, I just stayed in camp. And honestly, like, I came straight out of that fight September 1st in the camp straight into this one. And that's the whole reason for trying to jump another weight class lower, just because I've been in this diet for so long. I've been in this deficit for so long, man. It's like I'm going to take advantage of it now. But, man, yeah, definitely the preparation for the fight. Like I said, it was a super long fight camp. Weight cut was all right. It wasn't too bad. But, man, it was a lot of work for 2 seconds for sure.
Everyone in the arena saw something really cool that you don't always see, a 2-second knockout. But when did it hit you that what you just achieved in that cage, like, that's not normal?
Man, honestly, it took a day or two for sure. I mean, I felt like I had a win, obviously, but I didn't feel like I got in a fight by no means. Like literally, it was just we ran out there, we threw one punch, and the fight was over. Like you said, my walkout, my celebration was more than the fight. But I mean, really, truthfully, it probably hit me. People started sending me links. Yeah, you're on YouTube. It's been 5 hours and you're like at 100,000 views. So I was like, oh wow, and it was like Full Send MMA that posted it on there. And I think it was strictly just because all the clips I had, from every angle, they put it together. And then really the biggest thing, man, was the Sports Illustrated article. That was huge. I mean, I know professional athletes that's never made a Sports Illustrated article. You know what I mean? So it was pretty cool.
And I know that you're a family man. I know that you have young kids at home. And to go out there and to do something that special, like, do you ever like think to yourself, like, wow, like 20 years from now, when I'm no longer fighting, like, I created like a moment that they're gonna be able to like look back on and be like, wow, my dad did that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. That's probably the biggest glory behind it. You're gonna sit down with my kids, granddad, grandkid talks. Check me out on YouTube. And it's pretty cool, man. Like you can literally just YouTube fastest KO in MMA history right now, and I pop up beside Jorge Masvidal. It's pretty big. It's pretty big, I think. But I mean, we're just getting started.
We are just getting started, and the fact that two of the biggest publications in just sports in general, not necessarily MMA Junkie, but Sports Illustrated, that's definitely one. But then MMA Junkie, that's probably like one of the biggest promotions from the MMA side of things. At what point did they hit you up and were like, "Yo, dude, like we want to talk to you"?
Man, they just sent me the link of the article, and they had just wrote it on me like no questions asked. They didn't ask me any questions. I don't even know where they got all their details, but they made it happen, man, and it was all pinpoint accurate and it was perfect. So it was a shock for sure. But like you said, like some people never get picked up on these, and it happened. So I'm grateful for sure.
So at what point, like, you go out there, it's like a picture perfect knockout. And of course, you're smart enough to know not every fight is going to go like that. Like, as we level up, like, we're going to have to dig deep. There's probably a lot of things about your game that you've been working on that you never even got the opportunity to show us in your last fight. I'm sure your grappling is really good. I'm sure you've been working on your wrestling and, doing all sorts of things behind the scenes to make sure that you're successful in the MMA game. And so, like, as you like transition over into this next fight, where's kind of like your mind at? Like, you know what, the first fight, yeah, that was great, but I gotta leave that in the past, and I gotta just kind of move on and further evolve.
Man, honestly, I think it boils down to like that fight camp was so long for that 2 seconds. I really haven't got to show anything off, like you're saying. Man, I'm grappling heavy, like 4 or 5 days a week. I'm in jits on the mats. My striking, I've been with my coach Irvin Jones for almost 3 years now, and anybody in the Nashville area knows Irv's name. You know what I mean? He's 5-3 as a pro, but he's had 20 plus amateur fights with a crazy record. Used to be a part of Team USA and everything. So I mean, there's been a lot of work put in. I think my goal for this one, man, is just to get in there and show more of my skill set. I'm gonna come in and probably rush him at first, and see how he reacts, of course, because he's seen that video. Uh, but definitely, I want to show some stuff off, man. I wanna open the bag on this one for sure.
So I'll ask you a provocative question. You may have only had one MMA fight, but you've been around the MMA game long enough to know, right? So let's look at you as a hater would for a second. So a hater would look at you and say, "Oh, Mr. Big Time, he went out there in his first MMA fight. He thinks he's too cool for school now. I'm going to catch this kid. I'm going to catch this kid sleeping. He thinks he's hot shit now. I'm going to make him pay for that." And some people, I'm bringing that up because some young fighters, they get caught up in their own hype early, and then we see them get humbled real early on
Mhm.
in their career after like experiencing a lot of success. Why is that not going to happen with you?
Man, I think honestly, I don't know anybody working harder than me right now for sure. Like I said, dude, I work 40, 50 hours a week and I'm on the mats until it's bedtime. Um, Honestly, man, I've been if you ask anybody around me, I've been telling everybody I want a war. You know what I mean? I'm early in the game, but like I said before, I'm 29 years old, so this amateur career don't plan on lasting real long as an Emmy. I want to see every opponent I can. I want to see the grapplers. I want to see the best of the strikers, and I want to see the dogs. Because I mean, that bottom line is where I think I excel at is when it's time to flip the switch, man. I let the dog out. You know what I mean? And a lot of fighters are very skilled, but don't have that in them. You know, um, and like I said, I'm prepared for a war, and if he wants to go 9 minutes, we're for sure ready for it. You know.
How would you categorize yourself, Travis? Are you a freestyle fighter? Are you a wrestler? Like, what is it about you, like stylistically? Like, is there one particular discipline of fighting that you're more comfortable with?
I'd probably say I'm more Muay Thai based. But it's not. We're not necessarily your traditional Muay Thai. You're slow, slow paced Muay Thai. It's more Dutch style. A lot of fast, rapid pace striking. I love to strike. You can call me a freestyle fighter, but my coach is gonna say I'm a Muay Thai fighter. But it definitely just came up from fighting growing up, man, and just being a fan of the sport, and finally threw myself at it. But Muay Thai based and definitely Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for sure.
Travis, we have a new opponent now coming up here in a few days, and also a new weight class. For people who aren't aware of what it is I'm talking about, can you kind of fill us in a little bit on what I mean?
Yeah, man. Last fight was at 145. My MMA debut was at 145. My two kickboxing bouts that I have were also at 145. And that wasn't a cut much at all, man. But this 135, this bantamweight, it's been pretty tough on me. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's just a lot more discipline. No cheat meals at all. I mean, I've already cut salt this week. I've cut my salt out. The carbs are gone. We're trickling down, but we're getting there.
Only a few days out, and you're going to be going up against a man, Michael Moody. It's going to be his MMA debut, and that's kind of always an interesting question. There's no backstory to this guy. Like, he's making his debut. There's really no film. There's really nothing to go off of. And from a preparatory standpoint, that might be a little bit challenging. How do you overcome the challenges of just fighting a complete unknown guy?
Man, honestly, this is probably the most unknown guy I've fought yet. Strictly because most guys, they wear out their social media, you know, especially nowadays and age. Like, if you're gonna be a fighter, you're supposed to market yourself until you have somebody doing that for you, you know. And I've done a pretty well job at that so far, getting in my sponsors and stuff like that. But he don't post nothing. I haven't seen a video of him even hitting the bag. So we're ready to go though, man. We every fight so far I've focused on my skills. We ain't really bulled into what they're bringing to the table. I know he's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu as well. So he's probably going to try to grapple, but we're ready for it 100%. And you got to get in on your striking in order to get a takedown. So we'll see what's up.
We'll see what's up indeed. And I wanted to kind of give the mic to you. The fight here is in a few days, October 14th. What can people expect from you when they go out to watch you fight here in a few days?
Man, every time I step in the cage, best believe the dog's going to come out. 100%, I'm looking for a finish every single time I get in there. If we got to go 9 minutes, like I said, we will, but we're looking to get out there in the first minute for sure. I'm expecting to finish. My team's expecting to finish. Anybody that tunes in, that's what I hope you can expect as well.
Travis, I'd want to thank you so much for your time, and I want to kind of give you the mic. If there is anyone out there that you'd like to thank or any sponsors that you'd like to talk about, let's do it.
Yeah, man, definitely. I definitely got quite a few sponsors. I'll just run through them real quick. Martin Construction and Restoration. They've been with me since the jump, since my first fight. Got Martin Heating, Plumbing, and Cooling as well. That's his son, one of my best friends growing up. He's supported me from the get-go. Faded University, Barber College here in town, my barber. We got Wicked Colors Concrete, TMH, the most hated, Luther Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, Legion Property Management, Tennessee Equipment Services, K4 Enclosure, and Patriot Pools, man. 10 of them. 10 of them, and we're just getting started. People think it's crazy all the time. I got so many sponsors, but, man, I couldn't be more grateful for all the support for sure.
Well, Travis, I appreciate your time this evening. I look forward to having you back very soon, sir.